Good evening and welcome to the CCM Fans Report. I'm Arthur Fishel.
And I'm Martha Fishel.
On the programme this evening, a quiet week for the men's squad, a Sunday afternoon battle in the shaky Isles for the women, and a final farewell to a man who built the digital home we all share.
It is a bit of a strange week, isn't it, dear? No men's game to fret over, just a very long flight to New Zealand for the girls, and a lot of quiet time on the forums.
A bye week, Martha. A necessary pause in the schedule that allows for recovery, tactical reassessment, and, in our case, a moment to reflect on the very foundations of this club's supporter culture.
You're right, but honestly, it's been a heavy week for the community. The results in Wellington feel secondary because we've lost someone who was there right at the beginning of everything.
Last week, Chris Dunkerley passed away at the age of 75. While many of you may know him as a fixture in the stands or a voice on a podcast, his contribution to this sport, and specifically to this club, was foundational in the most literal sense.
It is heartbreaking news, Arthur. Many of our viewers on ccmfans.net will have known him for years by his forum handle, Kevrenor. He wasn't just a fan who watched the game. He was one of those people who built things. He made sure there was a place for everyone else to talk about the Mariners. If you have ever logged onto the forum to have a moan or celebrate a win, you are standing in a house that Chris started building over 20 years ago.
Indeed. Long before the polished interfaces of modern social media, Chris established the initial forum for the fans of the Central Coast Mariners in late 2004. It was a digital town square for a club that, at the time, barely had a name. That forum evolved into marinators.net and eventually into the CCM fans community we recognise today. He understood, perhaps earlier than most, that a club is not merely a collection of players, but a collection of connections.
And that's exactly what his name meant. I was reading about his bardic name, Kevrenor. It's Cornish for builder of links. He was a bard of the Vale Kevrenor, a man who spent decades making sure the history and language of his heritage weren't forgotten. He brought that same energy to football. He was the one archiving the old NSL reports when no one else thought they were worth saving.
His work with Back of the Net and his meticulous documentation of the National Soccer League era provided a bridge between the old world and the new. He was a senior public servant by trade, a man of protocol and standards, yet he possessed the soul of a poet. He could speak with equal authority on urban planning in Epping or the tactical instability of a Sydney United defensive line in 1999.
He moved up to Sawtell for his retirement, but he never really stopped. He was still running the Cornish Association newsletters and hosting cakey tea sessions on Zoom during the pandemic to keep people from feeling lonely. That was Chris. Whether he was posting as Kevrenor or chatting in person, he just wanted to make sure nobody was left out of the conversation.
It is rare to find an individual who so selflessly creates platforms for others to find their voice. Chris Dunkerley was a journalist, a historian, and a guardian of culture. But to us, he was the man who ensured that Mariners fans would always have a place to call home.
He really was the heart of the community before the community even knew what it was. Our thoughts are with his wife, Joy, and his family. He'll be missed in the stands, he'll be missed on the forums, and he'll certainly be missed by anyone who values the history of this beautiful, chaotic game.
A builder of links, a keeper of stories, and a true gentleman of the press. We shall not see his like again.
Rest easy, Chris, and thank you for everything.
Now, while the men's squad has been enjoying a weekend of physical recuperation, the administrative gears of the A-Leagues have, quite unexpectedly, begun to turn. Joining us to help translate the APL's recent video statement is Gary from marketing.
Arthur, Martha, high-octane evening. It's principal lead for acquisition optics now, actually. I've been analyzing that video transcript you sent over, and honestly, the sentiment stream is practically vibrating with potential.
Oh, acquisition optics. That sounds very technical, Gary. Is that like when you need special glasses to read the fine print on a receipt?
Right. Let's get into the text. In the video, the APL claims there is, and I quote, really strong interest internationally and nationally in not just the A-League but the Central Coast in particular. Gary, what does that actually mean?
Arthur, you're reading the words, but you're missing the subtext. International interest isn't just about buyers, it's about global brand resonance. It means the asset, the club, has successfully pivoted from a local sports team to a transcontinental IP vehicle. They are telling the market, we are visible from space.
Visible from space? Goodness. Well, it is nice to know people overseas are looking at us. I just hope they can see how lovely the palm trees look from up there.
They also state that they have engaged with a number of parties and we're down to a shortlist. To me, that sounds like they had 5 emails and deleted 3 of them.
Spot on, Arthur. That is textbook high-velocity filtering. A shortlist isn't about volume, it's about a curated scarcity event. By deleting those emails, the APL is asserting dominance. They are telling the bidders, our spam folder is worth more than your board meeting.
And finally, we have the timeline. They say they hope for an outcome, ideally in February, but probably into March. That is not a deadline, Gary. That is a guess.
I couldn't have put it better myself, Arthur. You are really tuning into the frequency tonight. That is a textbook example of dynamic temporal flexing. In high-stakes acquisition, you never lock yourself into a Gregorian constraint. You leave the window open for strategic drift by saying probably March. They are actually buying themselves an infinite runway of possibility.
Well, I suppose that makes sense. You don't want to rush the landing if the pilot isn't ready. Better to be late than to have a bumpy arrival.
It sounds like they don't have a clue when it's going to happen.
They have a concept of when it's going to happen, Arthur, and in modern business, the concept is often more valuable than the reality.
I think we'll leave it there before my head explodes. Thank you, Gary. Moving on from the boardroom to the actual grass, because while Gary was busy flexing his temporals, the A-League women were in Wellington. The Mariners travelled to Porirua Park this Sunday, a venue that appeared to be testing the structural integrity of the corner flags. The conditions were frankly absurd. It was so windy, they needed a windbreak.
You needed a windbreak.
What?
What? What was that?
Right. Moving on. The Wind was indeed the 12th player, though for which team remains unclear. Despite conceding nearly 60% of the territory and facing 22 shots to our 9, the Mariners emerged with a 2-1 victory. It was a statistical anomaly, but a welcome one.
It was gale ball, Arthur. That's what they're calling it on the forum. One fan said they saw the girls running backwards while their ponytails were blowing forwards.
It was certainly chaotic.
It was anarchy. Someone even spotted a man in the stands drinking an up-and-go at 5 p.m.
I fail to see the relevance of his beverage choice, Martha.
It's a breakfast drink, Arthur. You can't have liquid wheat bix for dinner. It's just wrong.
Be that as it may, I will say this for the broadcast. The commentary itself was a marked improvement on the usual standard. They analysed the game, they tracked the play, and they treated the contest with respect.
They were really good. Best we've heard all year, apart from the stupid accents, obviously.
Yes, well, the accents are a known quantity. I'll take a mangled vowel over a mangled statistic any day of the week.
Sivin.
Focus, please. On the pitch, Peter Trimmis opened the scoring in the 16th minute with a free kick that defied the laws of aerodynamics. She curled it into the top corner with a precision that suggested she had calculated the wind resistance to 3 decimal places.
Bend it like Trimmis. That was a lovely strike. But then Wellington woke up. They got one back. And for a while there, it looked like we were in trouble.
Wellington equalised through Mackenzie Anthony and the momentum shifted drastically. The sheer weight of numbers was against us. 22 shots to 9. By all logical metrics, we should have lost. But logic rarely applies when the ball is moving sideways in mid-air. Just before the break, Tamar Levin restored the lead.
And what a time to score, just before the Oranges. It breaks the other team's heart, doesn't it?
The second half was less a football match and more a siege. Wellington had 11 shots. We had 0. Not a single attempt on goal for 45 minutes. It was defensive attrition of the highest order.
It was nerve-wracking. The forum called it a phenomenal defensive effort, and they were right. Lorena Baumann was absolutely everywhere. She was player of the match for a reason.
A pragmatic performance. We held on, we ignored the wind, and we took 3 points from a difficult away trip. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. That result moves the women to 5th on the ladder, sitting on 22 points, equal with Brisbane Roar, but ahead on goal difference. We are firmly in the finals conversation. However, the conversation is about to become a shouting match, because looking ahead, the fixture list has conspired to keep us extremely busy.
It's a festival of football, Arthur. A double-header.
Technically, Martha, a double-header implies consecutive fixtures on the same afternoon. This is 2 games in 3 days.
It is a spiritual double-header, Arthur. A long weekend of lovely yellow football. I'd better get the jersey washed.
First up, a significant challenge for the women. They host the league heavyweights, Melbourne City, this Friday, February 20th. Kickoff is at 7 p.m.
Friday night lights, perfect for fish and chips by the palm trees. Although City are a bit scary, aren't they? It'll be a proper battle.
Indeed. And then, mere hours later in the grand scheme of things, the men return from their hiatus. They host the Western Sydney Wanderers on Sunday, February 22nd.
Sunday Arvo Footy, 5 p.m. kickoff. That is a very civilised time, Arthur. You can watch the game, shout at the referee, and still be home in time for a roast dinner.
I suspect the Wanderers' support will be somewhat louder than a roast dinner, Martha. At 5 p.m. on a Sunday, one would hope for a day of rest, but I fear the RBB did not get that memo. Not that many of them read memos.
Be nice, Arthur. They bring atmosphere.
They bring a flare, Martha. They will light it, choke on the smoke, annoy the security guards, and that will be it. I doubt there will be enough of them to actually fill a bay.
Oh well, as long as they don't frighten the sauce bottles, we'll just sing louder.
Double the football, double the blood pressure medication. Until next time, this has been the CCM Fans Report.